Hello everybody, what is up? Cobra here. Today we are going to be doing my first review of this channel, which is the original Axis and Allies 1984 edition. As you can see, we've got a pretty beat up box, but as of the time of the making of this video, this game has not been out in forever. Like I said, 1984 edition, so when you're going to be picking one of these things up, it's going to be pretty beat up, and if you can get one in great condition, then that's really good for you. But yeah, basically, we're just going to be going into a review of this. Maybe you're someone who is aspiring to purchase like all of the Axis and Allies games, or heck, maybe you're like me and you saw this at a thrift store or a yard sale and you've never even played Axis and Allies before and you would like to pick it up. So, basically, what you'll find is this very iconic art style that kind of kicked it off for the Axis and Allies box art, which is basically a bunch of generals and soldiers and tanks and planes, and basically gives you a really great idea of what this game is all about. So, this box is really unmistakable too. It's one of the larger boxes of most of the Axis and Allies games that you'll find, and this box art was never really redone on another game. So, you got Erwin Rommel front and center there, Douglas MacArthur on the side box art. You can see over here that it is a Game Master Series game before the company was bought out and Axis and Allies moved production. And you can see that we've got, the game is 2 to 5 players, so this is great to have a bunch of friends over to play it. And it's a pretty simple game, this version at least, to understand, as long as you've got someone that's read the rules over. So you can pretty much get just about anyone playing this game. And I was playing this game back when I was 10. I hadn't even read the rule book, and my friends would make up versions of the rules and everything. But right now, this game's kind of become a collector's edition item, where if you can pick one up for a good price that isn't missing a bunch of parts, it's a really great thing to do, just to have, if you're a fan of Axis and Allies, or even if you're just a person that likes board games. It's a really cool game to have. It's kind of kicked off the strategic board gaming craze, as its rules and everything were a lot better than Risk, a lot more in-depth, I suppose, and also followed a more historical precedent, whereas Risk is a more make-up-the-scenario type situation where you've got continents instead of actual nations. So yeah, let's get into what you would be getting in this game after you bought it. So we've now opened up the box, and as you can see, we've got it nicely stacked up over there. You'll find a bunch of other games that I'm hoping to get someday. But we've got Fortress America advertisement on the side. We've got Shogun. Both really cool games. I've seen some gameplay videos of back in the day, and I think they're really interesting. And ever since I bought this game and saw these, I really wanted to get them. So yeah. But you will find the nice folded up map, and we will get this opened up and show you how the game looks. This game definitely has probably one of my favorite art styles in general. It's a very nice, clean-looking map. As we can see, let's get a nice big view of the entire thing. And it's very nice, bright, colorful. You can see everything very well. And we can kind of pinpoint specific sections of this game. We've got neutral powers that cannot be invaded, or we've got places like Brazil, the United States. Very simple when it comes to other Axis and Allies games you may have seen. Lack of a Sahara Desert. I guess it is similar to games like 1942 that we've seen more recently. But overall, a very simple game in terms of just sea zones that aren't even marked, actually. Very simple land zones and everything, with areas being lumped together into large territories, which allows for a decent amount of space and everything, considering the amount of units you may be buying in some territories like Africa, Europe up here with Germany, and Great Britain over here. You can see we've got the different powers of the game, with America, Britain, Germany, Russia, or the USSR, and Japan. And Great Britain is lumped up into all of their Commonwealth territories, such as Australia, South Africa, the British Raj, and Canada. And the United States has control over China over here, which is represented by 2 territories as their coastline has been invaded by the Japanese. But this isn't really going into gameplay, it's really just what you're getting with the map in the game. I definitely like the art style of this game with the minimalist roundels. You just have to rely on color to see which territories you own. And I really like the capitals that have these really big roundels that really show off that that's your capital. We've got these nice blow-up boxes over here that show you the smaller territories of the game that you may want to have more space with. So, for instance, we've got the United Kingdom right here. Now, you can probably stack most of your stuff over here, but if you need some more space, you can use this over here. Same with Gibraltar, which is a very small territory right over here. So you've got these nice blow-up boxes. They aren't much bigger than what you get on the normal map, but they are good additions to the game to keep it all nice and fresh looking so that you're not getting these huge piles of infantry and tanks and artillery and everything. So yeah, that is the map, and let's go into just the other little pieces of this game that you'll get. So, going into the actual player aids and everything of the game. Now, you can see that I don't have all the pieces stocked with this game, because, as you may know if you've seen my channel before, that I like to paint all of my pieces, so I've since taken them out and put them in better organization boxes, but it is a very nice thing that this game actually comes with organization boxes. You can see here that this is a normal national one, and we've got a lot of slots, more than the pieces that you'll even get in this game, so you can really divide out all of your units and your purchases and your money and everything with these boxes. So they're very nice additions that are included. And we do have a different model here. This is basically for stuff like dice, money, and again, keeps everything nice and organized for playing and everything. And they're very nice and sturdy. You can see that this one's been chipped up a little bit, but overall, they've held up over the years. So, you'll also get money with this game. A bunch of really nice looking bills, and let me just untie this to show you guys the types of bills that you'll be getting with this game. And here we have all the bills nicely stacked out and everything. This is another great thing about this game, is the actual inclusion of IPCs, which they are called in Axis and Allies, if you're not aware. Because a lot of the games since this game have not actually included these. Even the larger games like Global 40, which are really big, don't even include paper money like this, which I really think it's a good thing to have, so you don't have to write it out on a piece of paper or anything, or use something like Monopoly money. And these are very nice, and you know, with the printing on white paper really helps them stand out. They aren't double-sided, sadly, but again, they are a nice addition to have. Now, they are smaller bills, because this game is a little bit smaller scale. You're not going to be needing stuff like 50s and 20s, and these bills will pretty much help you play the game as is. But this game is pretty nice to pick up if you can find it and just use these bills in your other Axis and Allies games, or other games in general, because they are very nice looking bills with nice artwork and everything on them. So yeah, that is the money you'll be getting with this game. Now back into the box, you can see that we've got these really nice printed out cardboard player aids. Now you can give all these to your players that are controlling the different nations, and they're well marked and everything. As you can see, this is the German one, and it is basically marked with everything that you'll need to play the game. So you've got starting money, you've got the turn tracker so they know when they're going, the different sequences to the game. We've got just basically a really flash, easy to read rule book that a player can refer to. Right here we have the reference chart so that they know what to buy, what to place, and yeah, so a very helpful thing. And again, nice thick cardboard so that these things don't get damaged or bent, and we have them for all the nations here. I really wish that other Axis and Allies games had kept these kind of easy to read production, or not production, player aids or reference charts, because they're really nice and they just help the game flow a lot better with a little condensed version of the rules for everybody to get. Here we have a national production chart. I really like this again too. The art style is like simple, but it looks very nice, matches the rest of the aesthetic of the game, where we've got the actual money. Again, we have another way to tell, or another ease for players, is that it tells you where each nation starts on the turn or the money tracker, and you can easily use this to move your pieces around or roundels around to see how much money you're making. And here we have weapons development, and this is a really cool feature of the game, which is technology. So you can see that we have all these different cool things that you can basically research with using your money and rolling die to try to get. So we have jet power, for example, which increases all your fighters' defensive capabilities to 5, which is a very strong and powerful technology that you can control. So another nice addition to the game. Here we have the battle board, another very cool looking artistic piece of this game, which is basically you can decide to roll the battles out as you move into another territory, but since there is a decent amount of units, it can get a little complex sometimes if you have too many, or new players that don't have all the statistics of the units memorized. So you can see here that you basically could move your pieces easily to this chart. So you have the attacker and the defender, and basically how this works is you would move all your pieces to the marked places. So we've got infantry, aircraft carriers, submarines, fighters, tanks, battleships, and bombers. And you basically lay all that out. Oh, and we've got some other additions, anti-aircraft guns and transports, which actually do defend, but they do not attack, which again helps you play the game better. We also have casualty markers, or casualty areas. How this works is when you lose a unit, you can move him back to here, because they do get one last shot before they end up dying, basically forever. But this helps you just kind of keep everything organized, where you have your full health, basically, units. When you lose a unit, you can place him here, he gets one more shot, and then you just take him off the casualty marker. So yeah, another really great addition, and I really like the artwork of this thing, because again, they really all match and go together, their overall theme. Kind of a tacky feeling, but a very cool and different art style from the normal Axis and Allies games that we'll see in the future. And here we have the rulebook. Now, a very simple rulebook when it comes to the size of it. Now, for an Axis and Allies game, this is a pretty short rulebook, and it's very in-depth in some parts, and also simple in other parts, where you can really find yourself skipping over some sections, where you can see we've got everything well marked, we've got objectives, basically strategies, and updates for rulebooks, so you can actually look these up. A lot of them are available as PDFs online. But you can basically easily find yourself just flipping through this, as I have back when I was younger, and reading through specific sections and easily getting to the actual points you need to check out when you're playing your games. And even though it is just simple black and white, I do like the look of it, because it kind of reminds me of like an old newspaper article from World War II. So yeah, and very cool black and white art on the front of the cover. So yeah, that is the rulebook. And lastly, we'll just get into some of the actual markers that you'll get. You get a good assortment of die that come with this game. If you actually get it with die, mine did not. These are replacements, plus chips and markers. So you can see, basically you can use these to stack up your units so that you don't have super crowded territories. Like if you had 10 infantry, it's a lot easier to just place this down as a stack with an infantry on top, instead of actually placing 10 infantry in a very small territory. And we do have basically a box for every nation, so that everybody gets organized units. The one downside to having these boxes without lids or anything on them is I have found multiple times when I used to store my units in here that it is not great if you don't have this thing as like easily set up to not flip over. I found myself a lot putting this on a shelf sideways, or taking it out upside down and having everything spill all over the place and having to go through for like hours, basically, reorganizing all my units. But it is nice that they give you this option. A lot of newer games basically just have a nice big box and you throw all your units into it. And especially with all the additional units that they've added over the years, it's very helpful to get a nicely organized system where everything fits nicely into this box, everything's well organized, and looks very nice when you're playing it. But we won't go into the units because, like I said, they are painted and everything, so I can't give you a great look at what you would be getting in terms of like the actual looks of your units. But I hope you enjoyed this really quick review of this game, this really old, nice game. And if you're thinking about picking it up and you haven't already, I definitely suggest doing it. Because while older, simple, and the rules overall being a lot less complex and sometimes even broken in some instances, it is a fun game to have. You know, if you're a new player, it's a good game to get you into Axis and Allies. And if you're a veteran player, heck, even if you play something more complex like Global War 1936 or even Memoir 44, it's a really nice, simple, and vintage game. You know, it looks very cool to other board gaming friends because of its age and cool looking art style. And it's also just a cool divergence from the original games that you may be playing, which may be way more complex. This game usually lasts me and my friends about 2 hours, so it's really just a fun game that you can take out, set up, and then play with your friends in a night. So yeah, again, I hope you enjoy my first episode of Board Game Review, and I hope to get a few more out there soon. Cobra, out.